Jack Ramsay was a basketball legend as a player and then a coach at St. Joe's in the 50s and 60s. Later, he moved on to the NBA, first as the Sixers GM and then their coach. But his best years were in Portland, where in 1977 his Trailblazers won the NBA championship, beating the 76ers for the title. He won almost 900 games and was inducted into the Naismith Hall of Fame in 1992. Every summer for almost 20 years, his former Hawk players have gathered at a golf outing to reminisce with their beloved Dr. Jack. This year, though, it was different because this year's get-together at Atlantic City Country Club came only a few months after Ramsay lost his battle with cancer at the age of 89. Up next, some famous Hawk basketball legends sharing their memories of Jack Ramsay on Inside Golf, presented by Susquehanna Wealth Management. Inside Golf, presented by Susquehanna Wealth Management, helping you build, manage, and preserve wealth. And by the Philadelphia Section PGA, experts in the game and business of golf.
Whether you are beginning to plan for your future, building your nest egg, or nearing retirement, Susquehanna Wealth Management will take the time to understand your unique situation and provide a customized, comprehensive strategy. From investment management and trust services to retirement planning for you or your business, we can help you develop a long-term plan to meet your specific financial goals. We understand that through life stages, your needs and financial objectives change. No matter where you are in life or how much wealth you have accumulated, we're always available to sit down with you to review your plan and adjust it as necessary. Susquehanna Wealth Management.
Susquehanna Wealth Management.
Helping you build,
Manage, and preserve wealth.
Welcome back to Inside Golf, presented by Susquehanna Wealth Management. We are here at the Ramsay Memorial Golf Tournament at Atlantic City Country Club with Dickie Smith. Now, Dickie Smith never played basketball, as far as I know, at St. Joe's. Huge supporter of the program, both as a student back in the days in the 50s and the 60s, or 60s, at least the 60s.
63.
Okay. And then, of course, through the years. And the man who actually started this Ramsay Invitational, how many years ago?
18 years ago.
18 years ago. And how many did Dr. Jack attend personally?
He missed one, I think, in the mid-05, 06 area and made every other one.
What was the inspiration for having that thing back on an August weekday, either at the shore or back up in the Philadelphia area?
We actually started at Overbrook Golf Club, and we had 32 players and about 6 or 7 guys for dinner. And it was essentially to get all of the players that played for Jack and coaches, anybody that was involved in the program. So it was kind of a small, select group, and that wasn't the intent to exclude anyone. But then it kind of grew over the years and got to where we have 70 today.
And here we are at Atlantic City, and unfortunately, this is the first year that Dr. Jack won't be here.
Yep, our icon has left us, but this is about as good as it gets, this venue. We've been at great venues. It's not to say that any of them were short shrift, but this is an excellent place, as you know.
Dick, I began by describing you as a longtime supporter of St. Joe's basketball. You've done as much as anybody, I think, to keep the legacy going, especially dating back to the Ramsay years. What's your favorite memory of Jack Ramsay?
You know, he was so self-effacing. It was never about him. It was always about him and his friends. He would never talk. We asked him all those years if he would get up and say a few words, and he always refused. There's enough people that can certainly sing his praises. Me among the leaders. He was an icon with no clay feet. We don't have many of those around.
Well, he's looking down on us now with some beautiful weather for the first Ramsay Memorial, and I'm sure there'll be many more to come.
We certainly hope so.
Well, another great Hawk from the past, no stranger to Philadelphia basketball fans for a number of reasons, is Matt Kukas. Matt, it's good to see you.
Harry, nice joining you. I love your show.
Thank you. Yeah, and you just happened to come up to the shore and turn on TV, and there we are, right, talking to Dal Finsterwald or somebody. Yeah. Matty, out of high school at St. Joe's Prep, you went to Miami, and eventually, though, you made your way back to Philadelphia and played for Jack. What was it like coming back and playing those years, some great great teams those couple of years at St. Joe's.
Well, I was a tremendous thrill, but you bring up to my, I'm surprised you remember that. I came home for Thanksgiving, for family reasons, and then I came home at Christmas time, and they were having the Christmas, they used to call it the Quaker City Tournament. I don't know if you remember that.
Sure.
Brought in some great teams, and at the triple header, one of the nights, it was a night that St. Joe's knocked off Bowley Green. And I mean, I was just, I had been in the Plester for many big sellouts, but I was just kind of overwhelmed with that. And that was, a few days before Christmas. And I made up my mind and said, I'm coming back, and I'm probably going to come back to St. Joe's. And that had a lot to do with it.
You went on to a great career in high school, not only high school, college, and pros, but also coaching. Was there anything you picked up, one or two trades, from all those years under Ramsey, or maybe not all those years, but two years or so, that you carried with you?
Well, I was fortunate enough to, bang around with a lot of coaches, but Jack, of course, coached me in college, and I played for him twice in the NBA at Philadelphia and in Buffalo. He traded me twice.
Jeez. Well, at least he got you back one time.
Yeah, one time, yeah. So I learned very quickly that it's a business and don't take it personally. No, but Jack, Jack was such a terrific human being. Aside from the basketball, we had so much fun off the court. We took a summer trip to South America for about 30 days, and I got to play a lot of bridge.
It was summer up in Philly, but it was winter down in South America.
Yeah, and I got to play a lot of bridge with Jack and his wife Jean. But he was just, I think the thing that I picked up from Jack is the way that he treated everybody. I mean, he never condescended to anybody. He treated the kid picking up the towels the same as he did to his stars like Tommy Wynn. And that's, I think that's the biggest thing that I learned from Jack. He's a terrific human being.
Very humble guy. Matty, good seeing you. How's your golf game? Right down in Florida now, you're probably at 2 or 3?
Florida, 2 or 3 putts at least. No, I gave up golf about 15 years ago when the neck and the back couldn't take it any longer.
Well, it's always a pleasure to see you.
Good seeing you, Harry. Thanks.
Well, another big name from St. Joe's basketball Hall of Fame status is Tom Wynn. And Tom,
long time ago.
Well, for some people, but for others like myself, seems like it was yesterday. Final Four team, 1961.
You got it.
You lost to, in the semifinals, an Ohio State team that featured Jerry Lucas and a guy by the name of Havlicek and Siegfried and even Bobby Knight, although I don't know how much he played a part on that team.
He didn't start that game, if I remember. He was afraid that he might have to guard me.
Tommy, you came out of St. James High School in Chester.
I did.
Went to St. Joe's, and that was a little bit of a connection because Ramsey had coached at St. James, correct?
Ramsey coached 2 years at St. James, and then moved on to Mount Pleasant, and then he came up to St. Joe. And that's the reason I went from St. James to St. Joe.
Really? He had a lot to do with it?
He and a couple of priests that said, if you don't go there, I'll disown you.
What was it like being coached by a relatively young, I guess, Jack Ramsey back in those days?
If you think about it, we were 18 and 19. He was 35, but he seemed a lot older. And we all seemed the same way, I guess. And but enjoyed playing with him. And in fact, we got this ring, Elite 8 ring, that we got last year. And Ramsey gave us the presentation and remembered every person on the team, right down to the shot that they missed. Rather interesting guy.
Is there any one thing that you remember that stands out, whether it happened in a practice or a game when you were playing for Jack?
We were playing Wake Forest at Charlotte, and this was my sophomore year. And Bones McKinney was coaching at the time. You remember Bones?
Sure.
And our dressing room was on one side, and Bones was on the other side. And there was a very thin wall. And Bones McKinney, who was a crazy man, I'm a nice crazy, started screaming and hollering at his team because we were up by 20 at the half. And Ramsey said, "Gentlemen, I don't have to say anything. Bones just said it all."
Paul Westhead, West Catholic High School, I believe, class of
56.
St. Joe's, class of
61.
There you go.
OBrien Prep, class of 57.
Oh, you touched all the bases.
Yeah, well, when I played at St. Joe's, I was like a backup, and Ramsey would always say, "Yeah, keep trying, Paul. You're going to get better." Well, hell, it never happened. But I had some great experiences. I actually coached against him once. I had the Lakers, and he was playing for the Portland Trailblazers and coaching them, and he beat me as usual. So.
Did he? And you had a pretty good team.
Yeah,
You only won the NBA championship.
Yeah, but his dress distracted me so much that I.
Right. This is such a tribute to him, but it's also a tribute, I think, to all you fellow former Hawks to come together in his memory and get together like this every year.
Yeah, well, it's really fun. I mean, to be honest, this is my first time in, and I specifically came because, as you know, they're having a memorial mass for him this Wednesday. So I decided to come in a few days early and come in, but seeing some of my old buddies, Tommy Wynn and Dickie Smith and them, and some non-Hawks, Herbie McGee,
Frank Kors.
Yeah, Frankie Kors. So King McGee always wanted to be a Hawk anyway.
Don't get into a game of pig or horse with him, Paul.
No, I won't. Thanks
for joining us.
Thank you.
Another great Hawk from the past, and we talked to your teammate Matt Gukas, Steve Donchez from Bethlehem Catholic, St. Joe's, class of what, 67?
67.
But forever will be remembered for hitting one shot that gave Jack Ramsay and St. Joe's a huge win over Villanova back in what, 1966 was that?
1966, and the best part of it was Coach put me in for defense.
And you took about a 28-footer?
Yeah, I think they said 29 or 30, but I did steal the ball, but by the way. Villanova had the ball with the score tied when I went in. Bill Oakes fouled out, and so I went in as the sub. The play was supposed to go to Gukas and then a pass out or inside to try to get a close shot. It was score tied, clock running down. And the ball somehow went, as I was crossing over the top of the circle, I just looked up at the clock. There was about 4 seconds, I guess. As I moved towards it, the ball bounced off past, somebody hit it, and I picked it up, made one turn. It was way out of my range, and I was fortunate. Obviously, it hit the bottom of the net, and we won the game and stayed. I think we were ranked 4th at the time. So,
what did Ramsey say after the game?
Well, all I could hear at the time, I turned around from the shot, and all you could hear was "woo!" Jack was screaming.
That was Jack. He could have reached out and touched you.
Oh, I was right there. He was standing, right behind me. That's where the shot was, right from the bench almost. And it was just thanks for saving it. But I was really lucky. I was fortunate.
Yeah, that was the equivalent of Bobby Thompson in the shot heard around the world with the Giants winning the National League pennant over the Dodgers. Let me ask you, I've been asking some of the former players, was there one moment, either in a game or in a practice, aside from that game-winning shot that you hit, that you'll take to your grave, something Jack Ramsay did or said to you?
There are a number, but one thing I remember at the beginning of my junior year, before the season started, we were having a team meeting before going out to practice, and Coach said, "There isn't a team on the schedule we can't beat." And you're a believer because of his great success. I think we were 28-4 maybe or something like that for the year. And the year before they lost to Providence twice. We did, and lost 3 altogether. Just a great coach, but also I think the impact, as you can see by this golf outing that's been going on for years, the impact on people's lives. You carried it through, all your different business careers and sports careers. Ramsey was always there in your mind, thinking about the good things he inspired us to do. Great guy.
You look great. You ever practice that shot anymore?
I can't reach anymore. But it's been fun. It's been a great time. I was fortunate to come down to St. Joe's at a great time, the Big Five in St. Joe's, and so I enjoyed my stay there.
And they did too, if it was only for one shot, Dodge.
You know what my son told me? I just talked to him the other day. He's working with somebody, and a fella said to him, "Do you know my dad is down in Washington?" I said, "Do I know your dad?" He said, "I was at the Palestra. I still get chills." My son said to me, there had to be 45,000 people in the Palestra that day.
Based on the stories?
Based on the stories.
I hear it. Thanks, Dodge.
Thanks very much. Good to be with you.
Jim OBrien, former St. Joe's player, and you got to know Jack Ramsay a little bit different than most of the former players here because you wound up being Jack Ramsay's son-in-law.
Yeah.
What was that like?
At first it was very intimidating because I was intimidated by his reputation and who he was as a man. And then I became like one of his sons, which was a great honor. He raised a great family, and He has meant so much to me throughout my life and throughout my career. I never had a training camp as a head coach in the NBA that Jack didn't spend a week with me, and which was a blessing to have somebody with that knowledge.
Did you guys always agree, say, in evaluating talent or doing things that you were doing, or was he one not to hold back if he did not see eye to eye?
No, Jack, with everybody that knew Jack well, if he had something to say, he's going to say it. So he was at our training camps with the idea that I needed his help. And if he saw something that he disagreed with the way I was doing something, at night we would get together and he would tell me like it was, and I would generally change it.
Was there one nugget of advice he ever gave you that you last with you forever?
Yeah, of many, I would say the key thing, he always wanted you to be your own man. You know, he didn't want you to coach like him or like somebody else. You had to be comfortable in your own skin if you were going to be a good teacher. People would read through any falsehoods that you carried around with you, and he was that was great advice, because certainly being that close to him, I could never be a Jack Ramsay, but I could certainly take things that he did in his career and put him into my coaching arsenal.
It's been a tough last few years. I mean, he suffered from cancer, in and out, and then eventually passing away in April. What were those final days like? Because I know you and Sharon, your wife, his daughter, were with him down in Florida.
Yeah, it was a tough, not only couple years, but maybe decade. He fought through a lot of cancers, but the last couple ones, really beat him up. I don't know if I've ever met a man tougher, and there's a reason that the Hawk will never die, and he's one of the reasons.
I'm glad he got into broadcasting, because he brought a wealth of information and talent to those last few years with ESPN.
Well, he took it very seriously, and his grandchildren only knew him as a broadcaster. He did it for over 20 years, and he was very, very in tune, as you would guess, to be good at, and he was.
What's Majas? Taking a full course load, doing an internship, and still finding time for research. Giving up your weekend to give back. When coach asks for 50 reps, but you do 80. Knowing that you're never finished learning. When you can see that good enough simply isn't. That's the Majas. Live greater, St. Joseph's University.
At this moment, across the country, families are packing their bags for a getaway. And no matter where they end up, they'll all be home by dinner. Plan your own at playgolfamerica.com. From finding fun and affordable programs to finding advice from PGA and LPGA professionals, playgolfamerica.com has a way for you to get away. Visit today for details. playgolfamerica.com, your link to the game.
Welcome back to Inside Golf, presented by Susquehanna Wealth Management. We're at Atlantic City Country Club down at the shore at the 18th get-together of former St. Joe's players for the Ramsey Memorial. Of course, Dr. Jack passed away in April of this year, and we've had a chance to talk to a lot of his former players, but also there are a number of former college basketball players who played against St. Joe's teams, coached by Jack Ramsay. As a LaSalle Explorer, you're kind of behind enemy lines, friendly enemy lines, but for a great cause. And actually, Frank, when you were coming out of Monsignor Bonner High School back in, the late 50s?
1960, actually, I graduated, from Bonner.
Jack Ramsay, head coach at St. Joe's, recruited you, huh?
Jack recruited me, and it came down to the difference between LaSalle and St. Joe's. And I picked LaSalle.
And back in those days, let's face it, kids that came out of high school in Philadelphia, for the most part, they stayed in Philadelphia.
Correct.
So you would play against these guys for maybe 8 years or more.
8 years, and then summertime, too. Played with guys like Jimmy Lynam and Herb McGee and Jimmy Boyle and Tommy Wynn, So, it was kind of like brotherly love, so to speak, in the city. But I love Jack Ramsay. He was a great human being. And anytime I'm available, I like to play in this tournament.
Frank, good seeing you. And,
thanks, Harry.
Frank, no stranger to Inside Golf. He a big part of Susquehanna Wealth Management. We thank you for your support year-round and look forward to a great relationship.
Thanks, Harry. Appreciate it.
Well, as I mentioned earlier, there are a lot of guys here that didn't play for Jack Ramsey. In fact, they didn't even play for St. Joe's, and one of them is Hall of Famer Herb McGee, of course, a star at then Textile, and now Philadelphia University. And Herb, you came pretty close, though, of playing for Coach Ramsey at St. Joe's.
Well, when I was in high school, everybody who played high school basketball in Philly would have gone to St. Joe's if Jack had recruited you. And I was one of them. And I was a little disappointed, but things worked out for me. And it certainly worked out perfect for me. And I just had so much respect for Coach Ramsey throughout his career because he's such a great man.
Did you talk to him later on in life, 20, 30 years after those high school days, about how you may have helped him get to a Final Four again if you had been there?
I would tease him about it all the time, and the story goes that he mistook me for Jimmy when he went to see us. And when our coach, Jack Devine, brought Jimmy in to see him, he said, "No, you got the wrong guy." So I make Lynham tell that story all the time. So I would have gone there in a second, but as I said, things worked out fine for me.
Could you have been a better player, do you think?
No, I don't think so. I think, when I got to my school, I was a starter from day one. You don't do that at St. Joe's, so it was great. And when I was inducted into the Hall of Fame, my head coach Ramsey was my presenter to show you the respect that I had for him. So
yeah, that's pretty big.
He's a great man, great man.
Good seeing you, Herb. Hit him good.
Thanks, I appreciate it, Harry.
Well, we have another St. Joe alum and a guy that didn't play Hawk basketball, but certainly made his mark in basketball, both as a general manager of the Sixers, among other teams, and also as executive director of the Big Five, John Nash. And John, like I said, you were back at St. Joe's during the Ramsey years, the beginning of your college career. What was it like to be, did you recognize then the greatness of Jack Ramsey as a student?
I did. We were in awe of him. In fact, I had the good fortune to work for Jack at the 76ers shortly after college. He was the coach and GM, and I kept referring to him as Dr. Ramsey because we all had such respect for this tremendous teacher coach. And he would say to me, "John, call me Jack or call me Coach." Well, I never could quite get to Jack in those days. I graduated many years later to calling him Jack. But I remember when I went to Portland in 2003, of course, Jack was sainted out there in Portland because of the championship with Bill Walton and that great team they had back in the 70s. So I called him to ask his advice and opinion on Portland. I wound up living in the same community that he lived in, and Jack McKinney, who was an assistant up there for a while, and Jimmy Lynham, who was up there as well. Whenever I would see him, I would seek out and ask questions. I can't specifically remember any important questions that I asked, but we would just have basketball conversations and life conversations. He was a wonderful human being, and outside of basketball, he did so many good things, and he really helped me a great deal early in my career.
Yeah, he's certainly an icon on both coasts, and anybody, especially in Philadelphia, back in the 50s and 60s. Jack Ramsey, it all began almost and ended with Jack Ramsey at St. Joe's.
Well, I'll tell you a real fast story, Harry, if I can. I rented a property that he owned in Ocean City, and it was almost on the beach with a little driveway behind it. And it was at 38th and Central, and he called me one day and said, "John, I have an option to buy that property, but I'm not going to buy it. If you want to buy it, it's for sale for $25,000. Well, I didn't have the money. This was back in the late 60s. So years later, I reminded him because the property eventually sold for over $1 million, 30 years later. So I reminded him of the story at one time. He said, "John, not only did I not buy it," he said, "I had an option to buy it. I thought I made a tremendous deal when I sold the option for $2,000. But that's the way it was back then. Jack was making $25,000 a year as the general manager and $25,000 as the coach of the Sixers, and he thought he had hit a grand slam, and it was a different era.
It certainly was. Good seeing you. Hit him good.
Harry, thanks, buddy, and don't pick up.
Stay with us. More coming up from the Ramsey Memorial Golf Outing here at Atlantic City Country Club. Right after this on Inside Golf, presented by Susquehanna Wealth Management.
What's Majas? Doing more than the bare minimum. Having the courage to test yourself in the real world. Working for the A instead of settling for a B. Using your education to make a better world. when you finally see that it really isn't all about you. That's the Majas. Live greater. St. Joseph's University.
Honey, what are all these cash rewards?
Stellar Checking with Smart Rewards. We earn cash on check card purchases and when we transfer money from our Stellar Checking into our savings account.
Cool. How should we spend them?
Stellar. Stellar.
Stellar!
Probably groceries.
Stellar Checking from Susquehanna Bank. Earn cash rewards whether you're spending or saving. Member FDIC.
Chris Ramsay, one of Jack Ramsay's sons, is here today. And Chris, what does this mean as a son of the legend, Jack Ramsay, to see former players, friends of Jack Ramsay show up every year, and now, of course, a memorial tournament?
Yeah. Well, my dad was really big on family, and we always get together down here in the summer, come to his place in Ocean City. But St. Joe's is part of our family, too. The St. Joe's has always embraced us, and the Ramsays have always embraced St. Joe's, and this event here is just an extension of that.
Yeah, you're working now at ESPN, and that your dad, when he got done coaching, had like a 20-year career as an analyst on ESPN. And he did a great job, almost as good a job as a coach as an analyst.
Yeah, he did, and fortunately, I got to work with my dad at ESPN quite a bit, and it was great to spend time with him on the road covering NBA games and really develop and enrich our relationship, our father and son relationship in that way.
Would it be fair to say that you now, working with ESPN and working in sports and coming in contact with people who your father knew for years and they knew him, to appreciate your father maybe more than you did when you were 15 years old?
Well, I'll tell you, since my dad's passing in April, I have heard from hundreds of people, and I've heard hundreds of stories that I had never heard about my dad before, and those stories just make me admire him even more.
That's going to do it for this week's edition of Inside Golf, presented by Susquehanna Wealth Management. And I hope you enjoyed being with us today here at Atlantic City Country Club for the Ramsay Memorial Golf Outing, and conversations we had with some of the former players, both at St. Joe's under Jack Ramsay and those who played against Coach Ramsay back in the Philadelphia Big Five. At St. Joe's, they say the hawk will never die. Well, today, I think it's a testament to the fact that in the minds of these former players and fans, the legacy of Jack Ramsay, it too will never die. I'm Harry Donahue. See you next time on Inside Golf. And remember, no matter how bad it's going for you, don't pick up. Thanks for joining us for Inside Golf, presented by Susquehanna Wealth Management. Inside Golf, presented by Susquehanna Wealth Management, helping you build, manage, and preserve wealth. And by the Philadelphia Section PGA, experts in the game and business of golf.